Hey gang, welcome back to another video. So this week I'm scratching the itch for another inconsequential prop. Although I guess technically you could say that this would be considered set decoration. But I'm recreating the red door control panel from the Death Star from Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. So let's get into it. One of the most essential things to have when replicating props is something that helps determine scale. In the case of this control panel, the backing plate was made using a Patterson contact proof printer, which is still being made today and was used to create the 3D model that I've printed. In my mind, I assumed this was a bit smaller, so it was quite a surprise that even with my large-scale 3D printer, it was too big to print in one go. So these two pieces will need to be bonded together. So I grabbed some 5-minute epoxy, measured out equal parts, despite the cold weather making this difficult to dispense, and could get to gluing it up. "5 minutes have passed, and now starts the work. While these parts should be identical in width and thickness, inevitably there's some variance that will need to be dealt with. So with my foot sander in hand, which was recommended by Michaela from MM's Prop Shop and equipped with a heavy grit sandpaper, I can get to leveling out these edges. When it felt like I'd smoothed them out relatively well, I switched to a larger palm sander with a higher grit sandpaper to try and minimize any sunken spots in the face of the panel. Now this print has 6 walls of thickness, specifically because I knew that this could be an issue, and I wanted to have enough room to sand through some layers without running the risk of exposing the infill of the part. With the major bit of sanding out of the way, I could get around to addressing the seam line. Now there's a few ways to go about handling this. I could have used more epoxy, applied body filler, or even run a bead of CA glue and then sand it down. But as I'm trying to work through the materials in the shop, I figured a bit of UV resin would get the job done. So I added a bit along the seam lines and then used a skewer to help move it around a bit to try and prevent any big mounds of resin. And then I could expose the resin to a UV lamp to harden it. Once the resin was completely set, I could sand it down flush with the rest of the surface and finish up any remaining sanding with some sanding twigs. Now, some of these smaller hairline seams will likely be hidden by primer and paint, so I'm not super concerned about getting them as smooth as the main face of the panel, since that's what you're more likely to notice. When everything was as smooth as I was willing to get it, I switched locations, grabbed some automotive filler primer, and gave the backing plate a few passes until I had a nice, even-looking surface. While I wait for the panel to dry, I printed the panel greblies on my resin printer, washed, cured, and sanded down any remaining support nibs, and could get to priming these parts as well. As usual, the smaller parts were stuck to a tongue depressor with a bit of carpet tape to keep them from rolling away as I paint. After a few minutes, I could apply a bit of paint to the inside of the pipes. Now, while we never really see this panel up close, I'd imagine that these are some kind of exhaust pipes. So I grabbed some matte black spray paint and blacked out the interior. Now this will eventually get a bit of overspray from the gray color I'm planning to paint the outsides, so my hope is that it'll give it an irregular soot-like interior that gives it a bit of interest. These smaller greblies, which on the original prop are thought to be a large resistor and a turntable part, were painted in a gloss black since they'll be given a chrome paint job a bit later. At this point, I could paint the outsides of the pipe with a satin gray base color. I plan to make these parts look like galvanized pipe, and this granite gray color is my go-to. And as you can see, the black interior paint now has some overspray, which creates sort of a gradient towards the bottom of the pipe. And I think with a little extra help, we'll really make this look like it serves a purpose. Once the parts were dry, they got a quick coat of satin clear since I plan on using some oil paints to give them a warmer mottled tone. And that layer of clear protects the base color, but also helps the oil paints move around a bit more easily. At this point, I kick-started the drying process with my hairdryer, and then I set them out in the sun to fully cure. The following morning, I got an early start, so we're back inside the shop again, and I can start making these pipe pieces look a bit more like galvanized metal. Now this is a technique that I use somewhat regularly because of how effective it is in giving some visual texture to unremarkable objects, especially 3D printed ones. The irregularity of the rub and buff application makes the finish a bit more organic, and the buffing with a shop towel helps to soften the pattern created by the nylon brush. So what you end up with is something that's got a bit of texture both physically and in tone, and that's exactly what I imagine this might have looked like. I mentioned earlier that I thought these were some kind of exhaust ports, so I want to introduce a bit more color to the pipes by way of some brown oil paint. This will be applied sparingly since I don't want it to be grimy, but even in the cleanest of places, there's always just a little bit of dirt, and these should be no different. At this point, I can get to adding some color to the backing plate of this panel. This candy apple red is a perfect color choice for this, and because it's in a satin finish, it'll have a nice sheen without showing off fingerprints. I gave the part a few coats, making sure to overlap my passes and to spray in opposing directions until it looked like I had full coverage, and then I left it to dry for a few hours and could prep some decals that I'll need for the panel. Some of the recesses on this panel have what appear to be some kind of reflective tape, which I happen to have on hand. So I trimmed a few pieces down to size and got to installing. There should have been a strip on the furthest vertical slot on the right, but I ran out of reflective tape, so this will be my own variant on this panel, which was actually pretty common during production, since this panel exists in a few different configurations throughout the movie, and nearly all of them are slightly different. Next up was the addition of some black accent panels. The model for this project came with a design file to create the pinstripes and panel decals, so I loaded it up and cut them on my plotter from black gloss vinyl and can get to installing those as well. In hindsight, I should have used the water and dish soap method to ensure that I didn't have any air bubbles under the decal, but thankfully with a sharp razor blade I can pop any of the larger ones and squeeze out the air until it lays a bit flatter against the panel. The last decal is this white outline, which I imagine was done in 1/8" pinstripe tape, but much to my surprise I couldn't source any locally, and so I just cut this from white vinyl and installed it around the upper cavity. With all the decals out of the way, I can mix up some more epoxy and get to installing all of the pipe parts and small greblies. Before I get to adding in the 3 vertical indicator lights, I want to set some red LEDs in position since they'll help me find the center for each light cover. I've temporarily wired them up to a battery pack to help with the install, and once they're in position, I can power them on and get to placing the panel lights in position. These light covers were printed in translucent red resin and the bezels printed in black resin and given a silver paint job and then assembled. Then I applied some all-clad aqua gloss with my airbrush to give them a glossy finish that simulates the look of the original injection molded and polished lens covers. In the movie, these lights are red, blue, and green. But again, this is my version, so I get to call the shots. Plus, I only had red resin on hand and it seemed crazy to buy both blue and green just for this build. These were glued in position with a bit more 5-minute epoxy, and once they'd set up, this control panel build was done. So there you have it. Another prop that's on screen for less than 20 seconds, but now I get to enjoy it as much as I want. And be sure to check out the video description where I'll leave links to all the files and materials in case you wanted to make one for yourself and support a fellow maker in the process. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.